welcome to Remnant Away TV. The video you're about to watch is made specially for you to bless you. So while you are watching, do not forget to like and subscribe if you are yet to do so. Be blessed as you watch.
The man that has guidance from God will float as if there is no storm. And if you don't have guidance from God, you are going to be a victim. The first key, if you want to call it that we must use in a time of famine is to come to the understanding of the fact that if God does not help us, we cannot get help. So wisdom requires, therefore, that we turn our face to God. The most strategic thing that you will need is to secure the position of the voice of God. The reason why we are turning to God is so that we can receive. You see, God is so deep. Are you with me? God is so deep. You must understand that when God deals with your economic situation, many strategies he will recommend may not be intellectually suitable for the situation. They will look counterproductive. And that's why you will need a heart of faith to be able to walk with God. You need a heart of faith to be able to deal with God. Are you there? All right, so let us trace a few scriptures here. Can we do Genesis chapter 26, verse 1? Genesis chapter 26, verse 1. And there was a famine in the land beside the first famine that was in the days of Abraham. And Isaac went unto Abimelech, the king of the Philistines, unto Gerar. And the Lord appeared unto him and said, Go not down into Egypt, dwell in the land which I shall tell thee, sojourn in this land. You see, these encounters are different encounters. The encounter in verse 2 is different from the encounter in verse 3. Give me verse 2. And the Lord appeared unto him and said, Go not down into Egypt. He was already preparing himself because that's the intellectually correct thing to do. It was only Egypt that had what it takes to sustain plant production because of the Nile. And he's already captured in the history of his father that when such a situation came, he had to go to Egypt for sustenance. So he was not about to ask God about the matter because there was already a pattern that was created. And unknown to him, that pattern was created in disobedience. That pattern was created without talking to God. Hallelujah. That's why we follow God. Even if you have a very good example of how a matter was tackled, God may not be willing to tackle that matter the same way he tackled it before in your own case. And that's why the king said, if God does not help us, from whence can I get help? It means the king himself became a preacher of that day. And he was pointing the congregation, pointing the nation to go back to their altar and to consult with God. Because it is from the mind of God that the wisdom that we need for survival as a people and as individuals is going to come. So the first encounter he had, this was what God told him. And the Lord appeared unto him and said, Go not down into Egypt, dwell in the land which I shall tell thee of. So at this time, God had not told him the land. It means that God is inviting him for deeper consultations, deeper prayers. You might be in search of wisdom from God, and what comes to you from the heart of God does not spell out the whole pathway of wisdom. It means God is saying, stay put. There are other subsequent encounters that I want to bring to you. The other day, a brother came to me and he said that God has spoken to him to leave the ministry that he's serving because he has an assignment for him. And he went and resigned. So when he came to me, I said, okay, where did he say you should go? He said, that information had not yet come. And you have resigned already. You resigned on half wisdom. Because the profit that wisdom brings is in his ability to give direction. You have received the first part of the direction, which is that your time in this particular ministry has come to an end. But you have not received the second part of the wisdom, which now shows you what you will be doing when you leave this ministry. So he resigned with insufficient wisdom. It will surprise you to know that God can give you the first part of the wisdom, and then the second part of the wisdom will come 5 years later. Whenever you take off like a tornado, without the complete package, you are going to be a victim of Ben-Hadad. Ben-Hadad is looking for someone that will be careless, that will not be careful to secure wisdom from God. And the person, oh my God, he besieged the city. And the only way out is wisdom. And if you become careless in your handling of this wisdom, you become a victim of the impact of the presence of Ben-Hadad. It might take 5 years for the second leg to come out, but he had already moved, and he didn't know where he was going. So the man pressed further, and he said, okay, oh Lord, you said you will show me the land that you want me to dwell, where you will sustain me. Now, the question is this: is it not the same energy? Are you there? Is it not the same energy that God used in verse 3 to tell him the land? It's the same energy that God used to tell him, I will show you the land. Why did God not just avoid verse 2 and then go straight to the direction in verse 3? God knows you and me. And God will only show up when you seek him with all of your heart. The fullness of that which you seek will never be made available until he has judged that your seeking was done with all of your heart. That means I have no other defense, I have no other salvation, I have no other support. You are my only support. When he knows that you are at that point, then he gives you what you will need for the journey. So in verse 3, he shows up again and says, sojourn in this land. At the end of the day, the golden land that God was talking about was actually the land where he was dwelling. Why did he? That's how God is. He wants to know if you will wait for him. He wants to know whether you have another alternative. He will waste your time for a period. And if it is true that you have another plan B, you will jump at it and leave him alone. It's only those people that don't have any other plan that will see the glory of God. Listen to me. God is not a man. If you go to the economics class in Benue State University, they will give you numerous assortments of solutions to the economic meltdown. The lecturers know it, even though they are not working in it. But at least they know it. They will be saying something. The thing they are saying, they are not experiencing it. But they will be saying it. God doesn't give you an intellectual answer. He doesn't give you an answer that seems to suggest that, that is one high intellectual strategy. God will give you an answer that if you are not sure it is him, you will despise the answer. Because the answer doesn't seem to have the ability to address the issue for which it came. The same land that has been bedeviled by famine, God is asking Isaac, remain in that land and I will bless you. It has not rained in this land. How do you bless a man in a land that has been reproached by lack of rain? Ben-Hadad, the deity of storm and rain, has come against the territory. How do you bless a man? You know, when walking with God, put your mind behind. You can only walk with him with your heart. Your heart is the organ that yields to him even when it doesn't make sense. If you need to make sense out of everything that God says, you will never walk with God. God is determined to confound your wisdom. God is determined to ensure that you get to experience the fact that it doesn't need to sound intellectual in order for it to come with salvation. Remember the recommendation of the king. If the Lord does not help us, from whence can I bring the help? So that help that we are going to seek from the Lord normally contradicts the intellectual approach. And that's why it's going to be a journey of faith and not a journey of sight. The A man that has guidance from God will float as if there is no storm. And if you don't have guidance from God, you are going to be a victim. Are you there? So these are the days where we need to seek guidance from God. There is no situation you find yourself in that there is no guidance that can come from God that can settle you in that situation. All of you know my story. How I was in the oil industry and I was doing well. We were well paid. You didn't need to take a bribe because your salary was okay. We were earning way more than ₦1 million under the circumstances of the old Nigeria, not this roller coaster system. We're doing well. Young guys, we're doing well. We're experts, professionals in what we were doing. So then the Lord now says, resign. So I went to him. I knew it was him that was giving me guidance. So I asked him, you are aware that I have a multitude in my house. And when you asked me to resign, you didn't ask them to go. You didn't ask the multitude to go. So now, how do I continue being the support system that I am in their lives if I no longer have this my good job? Do you know that this inquiry did not take long? He answered me. If I tell you the answer now, you'll be weak because it's not intellectual. You know what he told me? He said, teach the Bible. Does that sound? I'm just trying to let you know how God works. His answers are not intellectual. His answers are rejoicing to the heart and not the head. They don't make sense, but they make life. I can tell you that. So God is asking me to leave my job. God is asking me to leave my sustenance and to focus on bringing his counsel to our generation and beyond. And he never told me how I will sustain my camp. When I pressed, he said, teach the Bible. How does teach the Bible relate with my financial condition? And you know, I told you in my relationship with God, anytime I ask a question that is out of range, he does not answer. It means that your question is foolish. I just understand it. Because there was a time I was gisting with God, and I gisted with him for 3 hours. And the reason why I was able to keep him was that I was asking the right question, and he was answering me. And we were in that discussion for 3 hours. That's what the Bible calls a mouth-to-mouth discussion. So whenever, and you see, even if you write your questions down on a piece of paper, and he comes, you will forget that paper. That's if he wants you to forget, you will forget it. So you are not really in control. Are you there? Are you? He knows where to touch. There are some things he touches, some buttons. When he touches those buttons, those things you are saying, if he comes again, he will forget all of them. You are not. Forget. So I've been able to keep him for 3 hours. We were discussing like that for 3 hours. In fact, he will even allow me write what he's saying. I'll write it down. Then I say, okay. I'll say, wait. Let me get this one. He will wait. And for 3 hours, I exhausted all my questions, and he walked away. But if he comes like that to speak to me, and then I ask the wrong question, the discussion has ended. So he told me, teach what? The Bible. This teach the Bible matter that I'm telling you, he gave me this instruction in 2020. I had not resigned yet. Teach the Bible. I came home for a weekend to go back to work, and because of COVID, all the borders of the states were shut down. So I began to talk to my colleague on the other side. He sends me data. I work on the data, do everything, do the job, and then I send it. So I was able to continue doing my work from here, right? Then, early in the morning, you know my friend from Lagos, Prophet Ayo, now calls me. Say, I saw you on the white horse, and as you were riding on that horse, you were proclaiming the kingdom. Guess what he now says in interpreting what the vision meant? He said, teach the Bible now. the Bible. It's okay. That was how we started that teaching that I did preach for 80 days. Those of you that were there. It was on the instruction of teach the Bible. Two things happened when I taught the Bible during those 80 days. Are you still with me? First thing that happened is, since the history of this ministry, there has never been a time, that is the history of this ministry up until that time. There has never been a time where people gave to this ministry like the 80 days. That 80 days of preaching was our breakthrough in terms of people sowing into the ministry. The flow was so consistent, and so the momentum, I don't know, what's the name? Give me a scientific word for this. Huh? You people want to confuse our audience now. You know what I'm talking about. The way the finances was flowing in on a daily basis, it was on the strength of that flow that we took off by faith and started laying this foundation. You know where we were now. The capacity of the building was 250 people. And then we now started building a hall that would take 4,500 people. Are we not crazy? We are crazy now. But it began to flow. This foundation you are standing on cost 55 million that time. Not now, that time. Because if you are saying that Indomie that used to be 250 is 500, if this foundation costs 55 million, what is the cost now? You got it right. That's the value. And I continued teaching, and the people were giving. I don't know what was going on. People were giving. And that was how the walls went up. So, and are you with me? Let me tell you my own little one. As they were giving to us as a ministry, they were also giving me in my account too. 5,000 we enter, 20,000, 10,000. In fact, they give in one day. That is my own small one now. In 24 hours, they gave me my salary. So I said, oh, what was it? You are not following me. You are not following me. So God was trying to prove to me that the strategy he gave me, even though it doesn't sound intellectual, it will work. For there will be no cloud, there will be no wind, but the ditches shall be filled with water. It didn't sound intellectual. I got my salary in 24 hours. So I now understood that I could survive based on that strategy. Now I'm provoking you. See, I want you to, oh my God, I want to come one day. And there are so many testimonies that will now abolish testimonies. I said, because if we start taking testimonies every day, we will not have time. Go back and receive guidance for your life. For me, he said what? Teach the Bible. So I'm challenging you now, go back and turn your face to the wall. And don't live there until God gives you guidance. Sometimes he allows situations, he allows circumstances so that you will know who among us is wise. Because the wise among us will go back to God and get guidance from him. Are you there? I want to end with a few scriptures, most popular scriptures. I'll be giving you 1 point per day so that you will practice it. You will remember and you'll practice. Psalms 23, that most popular scripture that you are aware of. Please put it on the dashboard. The Lord is my shepherd. What is the result? I shall not want. If you allow God to lead you, he will take you out of want. So the brethren that are listening to me online, you are listening from London, you are listening from Vienna, you are listening from someplace in Europe, someplace in the United States, and maybe there is no economic meltdown in your city, in your nation, but you are struggling with poverty. So Ben Hadad is on your case as an individual, not on the territory. You will need guidance from God. Guidance from what? God. I've studied prosperity very well in the scriptures, and I can tell you the key to blessing is hearkening unto the voice of God and obeying. That's the key to blessing. When God says, do this, do it, you will prosper. The key to cursing is disobeying the voice of God. Situations and circumstances will turn against you. And if you are here today, you are presumptuous. That means you, instead of you going to seek God, you say, let me do this thing, God will bless it. You will learn practical lessons of defeat and failure. We're going to pray tonight. Can you allow the Lord be your shepherd? Can you allow him be your guide? Can you allow him lead the way? He told me, teach the Bible. Teach the Bible. Hallelujah. Teach the Bible. That's the wisdom he gave me. Teach the Bible. I've seen kings, leaders of nations, attracted to my life just because I teach the Bible. There are people that teach better than me, but God did not give them teaching as a strategy to blessing them. But me, he gave me. You understand that? He will be committed to confirming the word that he has given you. I'm not saying I'm the best. I'm just saying that's the instruction he gave. Teach the Bible. There is nothing Satan can close from your destiny that which God asks you to do will not open. Teach the Bible. Now, I use my example, my life as an example so that you'll be able to relate with what I'm saying. If you can hear God, you will prosper.
Thank you for watching. I believe you are blessed by the video. Prove me right by clicking on the like button and subscribing if you are yet to do so. Share how blessed you are via the comment section, and do not forget to turn on your notification bell so you'll be notified when we post new videos. Now remember, it is more blessed to give than to receive. Share these blessings by sharing the link to family, friends, so they can participate in these blessings. Stay blessed.